In the next section, we'll look at a slightly different way to do roughly the same what trees do, but it has some subtle different properties. I won't give as much details as for trees, because maybe at some point it becomes more of the same. But it's not exactly the same. There's two things that trees may leave open on the wish list. Let me do the second first because it's more obvious. We have these priorities that we have to generate and we have to store, and they're actually good for nothing. They keep the tree in shape, but algorithmically, they're just there to keep the tree balanced. We can't use them for anything else. That seems maybe extraneous or wasteful. And the other subtle property is maybe kind of a theoretical problem, but suppose you were, for some reason, very unlucky with the priorities all being weird. Say, the priorities for some reason were all very small and even happened to be decreasing. That's unlikely to happen, but if it happens, you're stuck with it because you never change those priorities again. So you may have some top part of the tree as a long chain, and because all the priorities are very tiny, most new keys will just end up getting added down here, or well, maybe not down here. This is ordered by key. Let me revise my worst case example. It'll be somewhat balanced. I think to make it really bad, not even so easy. Because the keys also distribute things a bit. I don't know how to pin this down better than saying you're stuck with the same priorities. They're probably going to be fine, but what if they are for some reason not convenient? Then you'll never change them ever again if you have a data structure that you use for a very long time. Maybe this is a problem, maybe not, but it's a thing that trees certainly satisfy, that they don't change the priorities. And there's an alternative that uses a slightly different randomization strategy. The key for that one, a property that we've used before, is if you have a random binary search tree, among other things, the root is uniformly distributed among all the possible keys. And that's true for the root of the entire tree, but it's also true for every subtree recursively. So you pick the root uniformly, that splits the universe into left and right, and then conditional on that root, that subtree on the left and the subtree on the right, again, have uniform from their range, the root chosen, and so forth. So how about forgetting about these priorities and rather enforcing that this property is always true? That's a bit weird, right? We have one fixed tree. How can we say that we're having the right tree with the right probability? Well, it only becomes an issue when you change the tree. So upon insertions or deletions, we can try to make this happen. And it's actually not as hard as it maybe sounds. So we'll only enforce something new whenever some shape of the tree has to change because insertions or deletions happened. Here's the reference for this. I'll try to be more diligent with this in some chapters that are a bit more recent to give the original citations. Then also some of the detailed proofs can be found there. What we do for that, for making this work, maybe from this formula you can already see, if for every subtree we need the root to be chosen with this probability depending on the subtree size, we probably want the subtree size. So we store that. But remember that many binary search tree implementations will want the subtree sizes anyways to do these rank-based operations. So unlike for the priorities, this is not a wasted space. It may be something we anyways store. Now let's suppose we do a new insertion. So in general, we may insert in some path in the tree. So here's our new. Okay, let's not make it a leaf. Here's our new element, and now there's going to be some subtrees on the other sides of the path of various sizes. Now, we've added the element here because that's where our insertion took us. But if this element had been part of the tree from the beginning, there was some chance that it ended up in other places in the tree. Specifically among the search path, it could have been that it becomes the root of the entire tree. There's a small chance, just 1 over n, but it might have happened. Similarly, for all these trees, if you look at one of them, the subtree size here, m, there's a chance that this element would have been the root of that subtree, conditional that the rest of the tree was chosen as it is. There would have been a choice, a probability for that element to become the root here. And so what we do is we go top down, and at each point we flip a coin that has an unfair coin, a biased coin. At the root, it has probability 1 in n, or I guess now I should say it needs to be the new size, so n plus 1. We flip a coin at the root, whether this element should be the root of the entire tree. If not, then we continue recursively with the search and keep trying again with coin flips on the search path further down. But if the coin flip decides it should be the root, then we somehow have to make it the root without messing up the rest of the tree or the distribution over the rest of the tree structure. That sounds thorny, but it's actually not, because we have an insertion at the root procedure from before. And you can analyze that if you use this split and join for these, you don't mess up the random distribution of over tree shapes. This takes a bit of work to go through all the cases, and that's why I'll point you to the paper if you want to read the details. That indeed, when you are in this case, you determined there's the probability that this guy becomes the root, and that has now happened. Now I have to change the rest of the tree into one that is conditional on this fact that that new element is the root, equally likely, or has the distribution that we want from a random binary search tree. You can prove that the split and merge procedures give you that if you started with a random binary search tree from the beginning. That's for insert. I'll show some more clean code on the next slide after the rough idea. But you go essentially down the search path, each time flip a coin, and if you have to make it the root of this subtree, you insert it at the root using the same procedure as in the trees. And you can also handle deletions. There's no choice what to do with x, it has to go. So you'll find it somewhere on a path, and then it has 2 subtrees. Now, these have to be somehow joined into one. That's the only option we have. And the only choice really in join was which element do we make the root, but we have to do this recursively. And here, if you have these 2 trees, well, this is already of the right distribution, so its root is uniformly chosen among all these keys. Its root here on the left is chosen uniformly among those. So if I choose among those 2 uniformly chosen elements with the right respective probabilities, weighted by the subtree sizes here, that's what this says, then I'm already good. Then the root is uniform again. And recursively, I get the same guarantee for the joined subtree. So let's look at the code briefly. The code again is not complicated. Just to be specific, here it is. So you insert a new element x. You draw, how do you flip this biased coin? The easiest is to draw a random number between 0 and n exclusive. And check if it's 0. I guess this is never going to happen otherwise. You need to pick one out of these n options. That's what it says. And we want n plus 1. Okay, so the code is broken. This should be n plus 1. Because that size is the old size. We haven't incremented it yet. And I think my code here never increments the size. So maybe the fix should rather be that we increment the size now. Okay, so there's yeah, update size only recomputes it from the subtrees. At some point, I actually have to increment something, right? There's no incrementate, there's no plus in the code. That's fishy. Oh, insert at root does that. So I think it's fine. It's hidden, right? It's hidden in here. So the only bug is the one that I fixed here, that the probability should have used the new subtree size, and that's only updated after the fact. So we have to add one here manually. At least then the comparison here makes sense again. Okay, edit distance to correct code was small, but a bit of a subtlety. And you see, it's a cute combination of the standard insertion where you follow a search path and the insert at root where you stop at a certain point. This is copy-paste mistake, right? This makes no sense. An expectation of all random. Okay, forget it. Just ignore that part. I can fix that. Oh. Okay, this takes too long. I don't understand why. I'm probably generating a lot of invisible. There we go. There's nothing to see here. Good. Deletion uses join. I've reproduced the code here because it needs a slight change. Previously, I've said join uses the sizes and just puts the larger root up, and then we modified it for trees to use the priorities. Here we modify it again to use a random choice of the roots. And we take the size of the left subtree, the size of the right subtree, pick a random number between 0 and the total size exclusive. And if the number we get is on the left side, then we use the left subtree's root as global root, otherwise the right. That's the only change. The rest is the same code as before. And then deletion, I think there nothing interesting happens. But here I'm not updating the size, or do I? I think here it might work because update size, then in the next okay, I'll think about update size. I thought it's clever to have concrete code, but then you want to get the details right. Yeah. We have at some point, we have to update X. It could be that it works out because we always have some null pointer, and these are taken account for in update size. For getting the precise point where we update the size, what you do is you recursively find X. And the usual case is this one. Join might update the sizes already correctly from the recursion. And again, using the nulls as the base case. So maybe it's fine. That's the case where we delete the root. And the only change really to before was, as explained, which root to pick. Okay. The non-trivial part about the randomized binary search trees is proving that they have the right shape distribution. And here I'll just appeal to your intuition that things are symmetric and we don't destroy the symmetry in the updates. This is, again, it is a non-trivial statement that needs a proof, but maybe we've spent enough time on this. So the proper proof is in the paper that is linked above. It's a long case distinction, but not very complicated. Once we have that, we can again harvest all the results we've proved about random binary search trees. By now you know this. At the end of this section, hopefully you even know the results by heart. That was the depth of a random node, random leaf. We also had this high probability bound, etc., etc. You can also analyze how much the insertion and deletion has to modify. So what's meant by this is both insert and delete have a recursive part where you just walk down a search path, and that is bounded by the height of the tree as always. And then it has the insert at root part, respectively the join part, which I mean also is bounded in terms of how far it can go down by the height. But this is the part where we modify the tree and where potentially we have to pay more to update secondary data structures and so on. And here you can show that in expectation, you do just constant work. And it's the very same argument as for trees. Because again, the tree after the fact kind of gives you a trace of where you've been. And the symmetry from the random binary search tree means most nodes end up low in the tree towards the leaves. Okay. Part A, that's using the results. Yeah, that's tying it back to the analysis of the trees, as I said. Okay, enough on standard trees and randomized binary search trees. The point with this second alternative was to show you, even for the same goal of forcing the tree to have this shape of a random binary search tree, you can do two fundamentally different approaches that give you different randomization. And these are not even all this. I mentioned the SIP trees before, which are somewhere in between of the two, if you like, closer to trees, but try to use less randomness. So there's some design space to be explored. It could be that a simpler solution is still out there to be discovered.